Hello, I'm David Hunt and welcome to The Art Hunter. My guest today is a visual artist, and boy, it's a visual feast, whose work is constantly evolving as he is forever refining it. Collage plays a big part and it's his basic concept, sourcing materials from advertising, pop culture and overlaying his own photography as well. He has a chaotic vision, which I love. His work is very busy, allowing the eye to travel around the painting, finding something different each time. He has a huge following with regular exhibitions. Travel always brings inspiration, which we'll talk about that, and some of the art that you're seeing behind us reflects it. And think of a dog sleeping on a Persian rug, and a glimpse of his busy mind, because there's so much going on in that painting. Currently, he has a print design at the NGV, plus a myriad of collections, including London's Victoria and Albert Museum. Hello, Sydney's powerhouse. And he and his home is an installation in itself, gracing pages of magazine and newspaper. Gavin Brown, welcome to The Art Hunter.
Oh, thank you very much.
And congratulations on your excellent career already. You must be very proud of yourself, are you?
Actually, friends always say I haven't got there, and people say you can't see what you've achieved, and when you're in the middle of it, you can't see it.
Yeah.
But other people can see it.
Right.
I can't see it.
Right.
I can't see in here, but.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When did it all start as a kid? I believe, and this is a little surprise I'm throwing in, that you have an auntie that was an art teacher. Did she have any impact on your life?
No, I have a mother that's an art teacher.
Oh, your mother was
an
an art teacher?
Yes, yep.
Oh,
yep.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
And did she impact on your life as a kid growing up?
Yeah. It was, my father painted, and my mother was an art teacher, and it was something that wasn't unfamiliar in our household to have paintings and looking at paintings, and get taken to artist studios when I was young, and yeah, it was quite interesting. I thought it was, and always be taken to the galleries or things like that. So it was part of it was a normal part of my life, and I really loved it.
Yeah. And what about you actually drawing and painting yourself? Were you doing that constantly because you were getting inspiration from your family?
Yes. I mean, I was doing work. I was just mucking around and painting. It was something I loved doing. Of course, with years, you get disciplined, but it's just for fun. And as a child, I knew I was going to be a painter.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I always thought it was funny that people didn't know what they were going to do. And I always knew that this was what I was going to do.
Wow.
And
okay.
there wasn't anything else. I mean, in life, you have different, you veer off and do other things. But it always came back in the same sort of, so that was my path. And I knew that, that I was going to be an artist. I thought I was going to be a really, really famous artist, which is a very strange thing to think, but
you are.
Yeah.
You're very, Victoria and Albert Museum, hello.
Yeah.
You can't get more famous than that.
Yeah, that's for textile design.
Yeah. So here you are, you're at school and you're thinking to yourself, well, I want to be an artist. So how encouraging was school back in the era? Because now it's a different world.
Yeah.
But would it have been tougher back then?
Well, there was no art classes or anything in primary school, and in high school I wasn't academically interested or good, but my energy was in the arts and where I was working and painting. And so I went to an alternative school called Woodley on the Mornington Peninsula. It's quite environmentally interested. Was set in the bush, and we had to wear colours of the bush, and it has affected my work since then. And so that one, So it's just trying to find, one thing to lead to the other to find where you're meant to be going. So
So did you, when you left school, did you study art?
I left quite young. I ended up working in a factory. I left at 15.
Okay.
And started getting a portfolio together to get because it just academically it just wasn't working out, and everyone knew there was no point. So I was getting a folder together to get to tech school, Princeton Tech, which was quite an adventure, being quite a wild kid and tech boy. So yeah, anyway, it's all life, isn't it? And then I ended up getting into RMIT at 17.
Right,
I was one of the youngest students then.
And when you said you got in, so you didn't do it, like, because nowadays you have to have degrees and all that, like, to get into RMIT or good marks at high school.
Yeah.
So what, you actually proved that you were a true artist and they took you on?
Well, it's a long time ago now, so I can't quite remember. I mean, I went to the VCA and they said, come back, you're too young, come back next year. And I just, youth, you don't have time for that.
Yeah.
No, I always laugh at people having a gap year and go, what are you having a gap year for? you think you've had a hard time now, wait,
Yeah.
You let other people get ahead, like, just keep going,
Yeah.
So,
and so
I hurried to get somewhere, I don't know where it was.
Right, but RMIT is a good place to start.
Academically very good, and set me up for technique, and had a work paint and use paint, and
Yeah. And so through that whole time that you were at RMIT, were you painting? Were you really finding who you were as an artist?
I mean, then there's the distractions of the big city, isn't there? So yes, you are. I always laugh.
The nightclub world, because you were heavily involved in that, weren't you?
Yeah, well, early on, I always laugh about making canvases, stretching canvases. I'm not very good at that because that was on Tuesday mornings and I was coming home from inflation. So I was never very, I probably wasn't very attentive that day.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, there was, there's a lot to juggle, and I think it was just in a hurry to get somewhere. There was always like somewhere. I'm always, chasing that next, that thing that's just elusive thing. Like, it's over there. So
and what about the whole fact of the nightclub world and discovering yourself as turning from a teenager into an adult? Well, that's a journey in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did it reflect in your art? Back then, were you painting, the very nightclub scene? Were you painting people, club people, or?
I mean, it was all about finding your people, and coming from high school, where you ended up not fitting in and just trying to find, where am I going to fit in? Where am I going to fit in? Here, and you find it, and it probably came out in different ways. Where I was majoring in fine art, painting and printmaking, and I had the factory I worked in when I was young was print silkscreen, so I had that. And my father did that, so I worked with him. So it sounds a bit Dickens, factory at 15. And so I thought, well, I'd never be interested in that. And before I know it, I'm like printing. I was trying to print large lino cuts, which I still do to this day. But I couldn't get paper big enough. But fabric was big enough.
Oh.
So I started printing on fabric.
Okay.
So it's sort of, things just happened. And then I've got this fabric. And then going to clubs, I started making clothes out of the prints, and then one thing led to another. So that's how. So my art was going into the clubs, and.
Well, you've always been, and the interesting thing is that I've known about you for years and years and years, and I've been in the same room as you at different events and whatever, but we've never met apart from we share a lot of mutual friends. But you're an art installation, as I actually said, your home, which I've seen in magazines, and you, with your clothes, are very much an art installation. Do you look at yourself like that?
I don't, but I think that we're all just living in this world, and if you're complaining that it's not interesting, you create your own reality. And I think as a kid I was on my own a lot, so I lived in a fantasy world. And as I got older, I probably didn't stop the fantasy world. And I just kept living, creating my own fantasy. I mean, there's a lot of ugliness in this world, and a lot of, I think you end up living in a bubble. I mean, I've creative bubble, because the world is just, whatever. Yeah, so I just want to look at this world. And don't dream. Don't dream it, be it.
Be it, yeah. So it's a wonder that you didn't end up just doing fabric printing, because like if you were wearing it to the clubs, people would have wanted your designs and all that. Were you tempted at one stage to do fabric?
Yeah. I was a textile designer. I had my own label called Plain Jane.
Right.
Which
Okay.
is, an example of it behind me.
Yep.
And that was clothing I would wear in the clubs in the street. It was pretty way out then.
And it's called Snakes and Ladders, isn't it?
Yeah, Indian Snakes and Ladders, yeah.
Right.
And I created that. And so I started veering off from the original thing of painting and started going down this fashion road. But now I look at it and other people look at it and they see the art in it,
Yep.
which is really great. Because I think if everything you do, you just apply that same integrity and that same...
Yeah.
Why do you change your brain? You just keep that same energy, and then it rings true.
Yeah.
And now I look at it when and I can see the art in it. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't just trying to just make it was meant to be more art than
instead of flowers or something like that.
Yeah, and it was the moment in time too. There was a lot of people at the same time doing interesting things.
Yeah. So here it is, and that design, did you design that years ago and it's been reintroduced, or is it
That's the original.
That's the original design.
Sitting under my bed for years waiting for them to knock on my door, and they did one day, and it was all ready for them.
Fantastic. And how did they come knocking?
They were there was a group called the FDC, Fashion Design Council of Australia, and they were going for their archive, and they had a gap in Melbourne in the early 80s to mid 80s was a hive of energy and a hive of fashion making and a hive of creative people doing film, music, architecture, fashion. It was just this amazing thing, this little little isolated at the bottom of the world, coming up with all these creative people that sort of exploded at one stage.
Yeah.
And of course I wanted to be part of that.
Yeah.
And, I did it until I was bored with it and tried to gear myself, the painting thing keeps coming up, and then something else is shiny over there, as we said.
Yeah. So, okay, here you are. You're like, you're veering off a little bit with your printmaking. When did the actual painting take control for you? Where did you think, now all of a sudden, that's what I want to do?
I started, didn't want to be in the fashion world because the creative side was, I didn't have the fashion is a machine, it's a when in the creative side and it turns into a business, I lose interest,
Yep.
So I veered off that and had all these fashion magazines and all that. Looking at all that, and then I started to go anti that, so I just ripped them up and started chopping them up, and then I started creating collages from that because I thought it would get some subconscious thing. Because when you all of a sudden go, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to be a painter. Well, what do you paint? And how do you be original? And how do you source things? And that was a good way in, so I started doing that. And
then you travelled beyond that. The collage is so important within your work, but some of your paintings are extraordinary. There's on the other side of your shoulder is a marketplace in Cambodia, I believe it is.
Yep.
How long did that piece take for you to paint? And it's quite large too, isn't it? It's not a small
large.
piece.
I did a series of works like that. And that was sort of cobbled together a little bit too, like in the same way of doing collage. So it's not just a photo. But I used that reference because we were walking through places really quickly.
Yep.
And you want to be unintrusive.
Yep.
And get the feel of it. So I work fast.
Do you?
Yeah, long hours and fast. So yeah.
Right.
I mean, it'll take weeks, but.
Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if you said it took half an hour or something. No. And you work every day.
I work when I was younger, I didn't have as much discipline because I was
too busy having a good time.
No, so I'm still having a good time. Don't worry about that. But I do also, it is my job, and I find best for me to have a routine. So I get there in the morning and paint all day, or or work all day. So it's not strictly 9 to 5, but it is pretty. I'm there at 8:30 sometimes, and I do push myself to be there all day.
Right. And when you say there, is it not in your home? Do you have a gallery somewhere else? Not a gallery, it's
I have a studio around the corner.
Right.
Yep. And that's with 20 other artists.
Oh, okay.
And it's a big area.
Yep.
And I can actually show, have open days there and things like that. But I've been there I've worked in my house, and it's my house.
You need to get away from.
Yeah, it's better.
Yep.
And I've worked. 2004, I moved into these studios, so I've been lucky there.
And what's the studios called?
It's Vale Street Studios.
Right.
It was an old knitting mill. When I first went there, they had all the machines still going.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. And then they had a section for artists to paint.
On one side, yeah, and then that's all closed down because apparently we can't make anything here. So.
Right. Yeah, well, we can, but it's cheaper overseas. Yeah. And do you get inspiration, Gavin, from seeing other people's work when you walk in of a morning?
There is comradeship more than I work with people I've known since MIT.
Okay. Yeah.
Lewis Miller works next door to me. He's won the Archibald. Known him since about '83. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just somebody to bounce ideas off of. And
not really.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not really like that. Yeah, we all seem to do our own thing, and we ask, but it's It's not this romantic thing where there's a movement. Everyone's got their own agenda and they're all doing different things. And there were very serious artists in there.
Yeah.
I had our studios behind the Esplanade Hotel for a while there too.
Yeah.
That was great studios as well with different artists. But I think every time I've been there, it's not ever been like, remember Raw Studios or something like that? It's never been like a movement.
Right, okay, okay. An exhibition. You've suffered of late because of COVID. The art world is really suffered. But do you enjoy getting ready for an exhibition?
I enjoy making the work. Focus on one show and sort of go in one direction.
Right. Okay. And do you find that that's better? Or you look back and go, oh, I used to like it when I used to mix it up a bit? Or are people happy with what you're doing now?
I think it looks stronger.
Yep.
When you've got, and then you can, I never have a lack of ideas, and then you can put a line under that. And
right.
I get bored.
Yeah. Talking about that, and I was going to ask you a bit later, but I'll ask now, do ideas dry up for you? Or are you one of those artists that there's always an idea in the back of your head?
I think because I'm always working, there's always something coming up, and I think I need 2 lifetimes to do what I need to do, not one.
Yeah.
And the opportunity to work is the main thing in my life, and it's a privilege as much as it's a gift, and don't waste it. So
that's a lovely way of saying it. Go on, you're going to continue there.
So, yeah, I always paint like it's my last painting. I'll find a new thing while I'm still doing the last lot of work. I think being in fashion a bit, they had seasons.
Yeah.
And I always think, why do I swap after? Oh, well, that's that show, and now I get bored and I'll do some printing work for the next show, or I'll do something else, or go into a different area. So yeah, but you can see a line through. You can, the thing I wanted most in painting was having a style.
Yep.
And style, to be unique, is the most important thing. And people have a style. Well, they can be influenced, but I do love it when people go, "Oh, I went into there was a Gavin Brown there," so that. They could see it's my work, and the subject matter could be totally different.
Yep.
But they can probably see something.
Yep.
That sort of flows through, so therefore there's a style. And I think to achieve that, that's probably a great thing. Now I've got so much work behind me, I can see that.
Right. You look back now on...
I can see a flow, there's certain subject matters that artists always seem to go back to. Or sort of,
yeah.
You say that my work's busy, and it is, and that's something I really like, it's that pattern. And that really concentration.
Yeah, well, and as I said as well, you know, it's very busy, and so therefore you look at it and you go, oh yeah, but then you study it. You know, the marketplace behind you. You know, like all of a sudden I've looked over your shoulder and there's a couple of extra women that I didn't realise were sitting there before when I've been looking at it, and all the vegetables, you know, like and how well you've captured them.
And tried to capture them quite quickly, and
yeah.
I think people often have a painting in their heads and go, oh, I had that painting on my wall for years and I never noticed that. So, well, if you're going to have a painting over your dining room table, that's what they're going to talk about, which, you know, oh, I had to move that. Every time we were at the dining room table, everyone just talked about the painting, and then they'd see this and that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's a beautiful compliment, Gavin, isn't it? You know, like, and yeah, that's what I said, you know, that busyness, but it's beautiful for me, the viewer, to look at that busyness.
But to keep it busy and to pull it off is, that's what I'm trying to achieve, and that's why I said it needs 2 lifetimes to get there.
Yeah.
I try and leave a place or that, but it's just not me.
Yeah. Okay. You want to fill your the canvas with lots of stuff.
Well, not just with lots of stuff. It just feels right.
Until it feels right. Do you come back to a painting, you know, like each day when you walk in and go, oh, I can see that where I can add there, or
no, I'm not just adding for the sake of adding. It's a composition.
Yep.
When I'm working with a composition, I know what I want. I can improve it. So I do improve an area. See something that isn't up to scratch, and then often I paint all day, and because I paint quite immediately, and I paint wet on wet, so it's oil paint, sort of building up a face, and then it can quite easily go out of. So you can just go wrong if you're not completely concentrating. That's why it's very intense, and
would you'd lose yourself in it as well, would you?
Yeah,
having to concentrate.
I always call it, some days I call it my background days, when I can't concentrate on a hand or a face. You know, I just do a bit of the background, because not every day you can be like And some days I paint all day and then scrape it off, but it's like a gymnast or something doing a somersault, and they know that they learn that so many times that it comes out, you know. So I've already got that face. I've done it 3 times sometimes, and I'm more harder on myself now not to let, you know, things have to be how I want it, not just near enough's not good enough. But it's imprinted, so I'm doing it like muscle memory almost by the end. So I get it right in the end. I try to get it.
Now you said a few minutes ago that you paint as if this is your last painting. Each painting is the one that you've just finished was your last painting. That's a lovely philosophy to have, because, you know, like, to be proud of each painting, thinking, I finished, there's my next masterpiece.
Yeah, and if I'm going for a big weekend, I make sure I sign everything. If I get hit by a tram.
Hit by a tram, that happens daily. But, you know, like, a lovely philosophy to have, because it is important that, you know, like, that you do sign them. You know. So do you?
I only have to answer to myself. So.
Yeah, but it's still yourself, and you're like. And there might be another place that you can look down and go, I should have signed that bloody poster or that painting, or so that's a lovely philosophy. So have you know, like, you're working on an exhibition at present that didn't happen. Do you know what you might be doing in, say, 2 or 3 years' time, or does travel need to come into play? Because you travel a lot and get inspiration, like Cambodia.
I was travelling. I was doing a bit of work, interior work, in the Philippines.
Right.
And just life, it's funny. And then I was going to lots of places like that. But I wouldn't necessarily go to, you know, if I go to Europe, I don't go, oh, I'm going to do a European show. It's just that was something about the people there, and there was something that I connected to.
Right.
And it was just this languid heat, and it was just this so it's not. I went to India, was the last place I went to before we all locked down, and I thought that I'd have more inspiration of the people, and it was there's some and everybody go, oh, India is going to be your place, and it is, but I'm just not going to do it like a National Geographic of every place I go to, but it'll come out somewhere else.
Yeah.
And when we were in lockdown, I became more internal, and there's always something to paint. So I started painting from my brain more than using images.
Okay.
So that's why I did the wildflowers in vases, which is very, pretty basic, but I enjoyed it, doing that work because it was, for me, it was sort of pushing something new, using different parts of my brain and sort of not, referring to an internal sort of image instead of looking at something external that I...
Yeah. And you paint quite large too, don't you?
I'd like to paint really big if I could, but yeah.
Why is that? Why
just
isn't
lends
it?
to it's the size. That's the size the painting's meant to be.
Yeah.
I just did some paintings recently, and I didn't like them. I thought, I've done them the wrong size. That's all.
Ah.
I was like, that should be this size.
Well, I think it's also a case because there's so much detail in it that you don't need to be, leaning forward to really look at it. You need that lovely stand back and take it in.
I do paint like that, like more of an impression, like a post-impressionist probably, but like that more gestural moment where you look at it and it doesn't how did you put that colour next to that, and then when you stand back it
makes sense.
Yeah, and in the face there's lots of colours, but if you just that's practice, and so there's much so when you're looking at it, it's very gestural, and I love the gestural and I like the mess and all that, but when you stand back it all comes into focus.
Yeah.
So you can enjoy it close up or far away.
So what do you prefer, painting or printing?
Sometimes you just need
a change.
Yeah. I mean, I think my prints are very strong. I'm working on some work at the moment on lino cuts where I print on canvas, and then I have a canvas, and then I chop up the lino cuts and I use it like a collage onto the canvas. So that's something I want to experiment with oil paint at some point, but it'll be the right time when I can get that together. So haven't quite worked out how that's all going to.
Yeah, so there's no shortage of, you're thinking, oh, well, I could be doing this or I could be doing that.
Just doing.
Just do it. So what happens on a day like today where you can't go into the studio because you're doing this interviewing? Do you think to yourself, I've had a thought that I could have gone and done that today?
Yes.
Or do you don't mind if you take the day off?
No, I want to be in there. I popped in today.
Did you?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'll go from here. No, I'll go in the studio.
Right.
Yep.
And will you stay a bit longer because your day's been interrupted?
Yeah. I've got a terrible Protestant work ethic. Instead of Catholic guilt, I have this sort of this thing where I've got to keep working. People go, how do you keep working? Oh, I've got to work.
But does that mean that you have a lot of work finished all the time?
Yeah, studio's full.
So what happens there? Because can't all go into the next exhibition. What do you do?
I try and sell it.
Sell it separately?
Yeah, it's funny. Someone said to me the other day, "Is it like getting rid of a child, your favourite child, and it's getting rid of your paintings?" And I go, "Oh God, no! It's just give me room for a new one."
Oh, so you don't mind giving stuff up?
No, I don't. Oh, because I'm only interested in the next thing I'm doing, not the thing I've done.
Okay.
And when I've finished it, I don't want to see it for a while, and then I'll walk into someone's house or somehow I'll see it again. It's like seeing kid.
Your child.
Yeah, child.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see you, and you go, oh, there you go. You went out to the world, and then I'm only interested in the next thing.
Right.
I don't sit around going, oh, but after 10, 20 years, I can look at it, or 30, I can look at it and enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
And it's not so close to me. And it's not so, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. So there's been no paintings that you think, I can't give this one up, and you keep it?
Never.
Wow. I think that's amazing.
I know, I didn't think I'd be that person,
yeah,
but I am.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, Gavin, that's really cool. That's really nice that you're happy to pass them on to
Well, that's
whoever.
I want other people to enjoy.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Yep.
Is there a time though when you paint something and you think, I'm really happy with this, and it takes a while to move for somebody to buy it?
Yeah. And I go, this is the work. This is the good stuff. And they don't get it because it's like always a little bit ahead of because I change my subject matter.
Yep.
And change, lots of things, and they go, they just getting used to something, and then I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then in a couple of years, they go, I love that. So yeah, when I have a show, I don't really, I could say, I sell my shows out, but I don't. But then I sell it all in the end.
Yeah.
So it just takes time for people to come around.
Yeah, and you don't panic if a piece that you really like doesn't sell straight away. You go.
Exhibition's more like a advertise, like it's a showcase for your work. It's not like you have to sell everything.
No.
It's more like a billboard, like you're here.
You're actually exhibiting for people to be aware of what you're doing now. Yeah. And then they can come back to you at a different time,
exactly.
which is good.
Yeah.
And because you often will, open, I'm guessing, at your studio and sell from your studio, don't you?
Well, I don't have a dealer in Melbourne.
Okay.
I have. And I feel that I represent myself better than a dealer.
Okay.
If I was showing anywhere else in another state where I'm not known, of course I'd have a dealer.
Do you do that very often? Do you show in other states?
I have, but it's, people are saying, you should go to London, you should go to New York, you should go, and I go, they've got painters there.
Do they?
They have painters there, they're pretty good, So I go, look,
Hey, I reckon on a world stage, you're way up there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Gavin, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. I can't wait to see what you're going to do next, because it will be brilliant, because you are an excellent artist. And your detail, you really blow me away. So, and thank you for doing the interview today. And it's lovely to finally get to meet you. Yeah, instead of seeing you, that's that Gavin guy on the other side of the room. Thanks so much.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
You've been watching The Art Hunter. I'm David Hunt, and we'll see you again real soon. See ya.